Will online meetings and presentations disappear once the pandemic is history? Holly, as corporate professionals, we must master the brave new online world, understanding that some challenges may stay the same, some are different, and some are completely new. To many learners who prefer studying public speaking or presentation offline, there is a sharp news to you. Online presentations is still here to stay. But in this live stream section, to prepare you to thrive in the world of online presentation, Nitay will address the topic: how can we boost your online charisma when presenting online? And he's just won the second place of World Champion of Public Speaking 2021. Hello Nitay, welcome to the show.
Hi, and thank you very much for having me.
Great. So let's get into our section today: how to boost our charisma in online presentation. Can you please share with us 5 elements of virtual charisma?
Of course, and I think the way to start is which medium are you using? And let's talk about the virtual world because that's what unfortunately COVID-19 or fortunately COVID-19 has brought to our life, especially in the world of public speaking. And in terms of the virtual world, if you move away to public speaking, you need to think, how do I connect best with my audience?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we're speaking to this square black screen, which is not different than this one, which is my phone. So if we want to connect and have charisma and deliver a message to the audience, we need to look around what's the best way to do it, not in the same way we do it on stage, but through that black screen. And the audience usually see movies, it sees Zoom calls or this type of calls on the screen. Now, how does this relate to charisma? The first thing is this. Once you explored the medium, I suggest is to explore the boundaries of that medium and bring something new. For example, have a look at photography, the rules of 2/3, golden triangle, Google them. If you use those tools well, when you're delivering a message virtually, you will connect better to the audience, and that's how your charisma will elevate. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is perhaps the most important thing, because we always look at TV and all of our heroes are on TV, they're not usually here next to us, and we try and act and behave like them. For example, I have a very great presenter who I only watch YouTube video on him, and he's never on stage. And I realized in my early time, I tried to imitate him. That's not good. If you want to have strong charisma with audience, be yourself. And I think it was The Rock, Dwayne, the wrestler, he said, be the first you. So if you are the first you, you will connect with the audience and have better charisma and transfer the message stronger. The third one, be passionate about your message. If you're talking about a topic that you're not passionate about, you will not connect to the audience. I can't emphasize how strongly it is. Because if you connect with your audience, if you connect with your message, if you're passionate about the message, it doesn't matter which medium you use, your charisma will shine through because your eyes will be big, your voice will be passionate, your body language will support all of that naturally. Let your message be heard. That's number 3. Number 4, especially in the virtual world, we can't be like this and deliver a message the whole time. The audience will go, and they're going to check the phone and go to the cat or to the dog. Bring energy to the screen. Keep moving, keep changing. And that strengthens your charisma and strengthens your message. That's very important. Energy. Number 5, and I want you to think about this. Before you start speaking, be your audience.
Yeah.
If you're speaking to a certain group, whether it's from Asia, from the US, from wherever it is in the world, right? Before you start speaking, be the audience. Think how they think. And that's how you will connect with them, and they will think you have a much higher charisma on the same wavelength. That's my 5 tips. I hope that helps.
Yeah, Mr. Nitay, just a follow-up question. You said that one of the first tips is we need to be ourselves. To those learners who are studying public speaking or they're practicing public speaking right now, how can they find their own style in order to be unique? Just like you just won one of the top three in the world champion of public speaking. It's not easy because you already understood your style. How can you find your unique style in order to boost your charisma?
So when I started speaking,
Mm,
I still don't think I'm very good, but
yeah.
I definitely didn't think I was good when I started. That's the reason why I started Toastmasters. And,
Mm,
and I saw all these fantastic speakers, right, from different variety, and I tried to imitate them,
mm,
especially the World Championship. And the truth is, and don't tell anyone because no one is listening, I'm actually quite awkward, and my laugh is weird. Like I laugh like such a high tone. So in the past, I used to hide it. I used to be like, and I don't have this deep voice that I wish I had, but I don't. When you speak like that and you say, "I'm listen, I have a message for you to hear." I can't speak like it takes me a lot. I'm pretending to speak like that. I don't have that voice. So to be yourself, for example, in the World Championship, especially in the final stage, I know that I have a high tone pitch when I get excited. I speak like this. And I know my laugh is really awkward, like ah. So I thought I'll bring it to the front. I'll
mm,
just be me. And but you need to accept that some people won't like it.
yeah.
But I believe that if you're yourself, if you're awkward, be awkward. If you have a funny laugh, push it to the front.
Mm,
If you, people will connect because you're not lying. You're
mm,
just you.
yeah.
That's my view, right? I wish I had this radio phone, like I don't. So
Mm.
you.
You are just you and be you whenever you present and encourage that when I am myself or we are ourselves and we have some weaknesses on stage. Should we just be you or should we learn how to improve our weaknesses?
Of course. So naturally, if you
Mm,
being you, you
yeah.
have strength and you
Mm,
have weaknesses. We all do. I have weaknesses. Everyone has weaknesses. The
mm,
question is whether those weaknesses are impacting the delivery of your message.
mm,
If they're impacting the delivering of the message, you need to eliminate them. You need to learn techniques and you need to be able to control them and make sure they're not impacting the message that you
yeah.
deliver. What I'm saying is there's a lot of stuff that we don't necessarily like about ourselves, but if we use it right, that
Mm,
will enhance the message that we're trying to give to the audience. That's the
mm,
key. So we need to first say, this is me. For
mm,
example, I have an awkward laugh. My pitch is higher. Is that going to impact the message,
mm,
or can I bring it in to help the message? If I can bring it in to help the message, do it. But
mm,
if say you always do this, right? For
mm,
example, I'll just make it up, right?
yeah.
That is not helpful to fix the
Mm,
hair every 2 seconds in front of an audience. So you can't do that unless you
yeah.
can weave it to the message somehow. So
Right.
yes, you have to be careful. Yeah,
Mm,
you need to eliminate the parts
mm,
of you that do not contribute to the message that you're delivering to the audience. The rest, bring it to the front. I hope that
mm.
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So it means that be yourself doesn't mean that we just leave our weaknesses like that, but we need to improve our weakness and empower
Always,
strengths. Okay,
always, always, yes.
I understand your point. How can you boost your charisma when you join the world champion of public speaking of this year?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question. How can I?
How did you boost your charisma? How did you perform your charisma when you
You know,
perform your final speech?
it's an interesting question.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question, and I'll tell you why. Because
Mm,
I took risk. I took a lot of risk in the final speech,
yeah.
and but I said, if I fail,
Mm,
and I believe this needs to be the attitude. If I fail, I want to fail big.
mm,
If I
interesting.
fail, I want to be. I want to fail big. I
Mm,
want fireworks with my failure. Yeah, I want people to say, Do you remember this guy? Oh my God, that was terrible. I didn't want to fail by, yeah, who? I don't remember him. Who just remind me what he said?
Mm.
That was my attitude going to the final, because I did take some risks. And I think if I fail, I want to fail with fireworks. At least I remember the failure, or remember the message, because I'm serving a message.
Yeah.
So the reason this is important, because if you're willing to fail to that extent, not just fail a little bit, if you're willing to fail with fireworks, you will have a lot more confidence in what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the audience, I believe, will have more respect for you because you're daring, you're trying, you're not fitting into a box. And naturally, that confidence brings charisma in terms of the perception of the audience. So I say this: fail big, fail with fireworks, take the risk. At least that's what my attitude was.
I see. Yeah, I like that concept, Nitay. The point is that when you're about to deliver an important presentation or you're about to join the final round of the contest, your heart is like attacking you. It's bumping like crazy. How can you boost your nerve, your confidence at that time in order to find out your charisma and perform your best?
There's only one way to do it. One way.
Yeah.
And I'll give you the 3 elements of that way. Ready? 1, practice. 2, practice. 3, practice. 4, practice. 5, practice. And you have to practice so much so you can't make mistakes anymore.
Yeah.
So much practice. I need to touch your shoulder at 1 a.m. in the morning. Go like, what happened? I say a speech. And you need to be able to say it, right? That's how much practice you need to do. Obviously, there's a lot, whether you're at the corporate world, whether you're doing the Toastmasters International Speech Contest, whether you ask an important question from someone, you will get nervous. I get nervous. Everyone gets nervous, and the house goes boom, 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 boom. So if you practice, you're no longer worrying about, will I forget words? You are now worrying, I need to calm down. So that part of delivering the speech becomes easier. Confidence, and the confidence comes through practice. There's no magic. There's no magic to it. Just a lot of practice. Yeah.
So it means that until you practice enough, then you know how to boost your confidence at that time.
Absolutely, because now you're not worrying about the speech. You're just worrying, I need to slow down my heart rate, I need to take a deep breath, and I need to focus on the message because that's why I'm here. But you can only do that if you practice your speech 1,000 times.
I see, Nitay. Another question to follow up this point is that were there any moments that you felt disengaged in your speech just because you practiced so much and then you don't have any engagement or excitement toward your speech anymore?
That is a gold of a question, and I am so happy you asked it. Yeah, so happy. Because if you want to boost charisma and if you want to boost your confidence in front of the audience, what we do, and I still stand by it, you practice. But if you start to sound rehearsed, if you start to sound like you're reading a script, if you start to sound like you're doing something not authentic, the audience is very smart. They're going to say, this guy is just performing for us. He doesn't actually believe in the message. And I'm going to leave you with a very, very important concept, right? And I haven't shared it with most, but this is, well, now I have shared it. I'm going to share it. And this concept is very important. So we talked about practice. You still need to do it. But you will connect to your audience if they see the real you. And how every time you do a presentation, you show them the real you, so it doesn't look like an acting method, is what I called an emotional routine. Let me just repeat these words. Emotional routine.
Emotional routine.
So every time before I do a speech, and say it's a happy speech, or there is a sad speech, or whatever it is, right? For every speech, I build an emotional routine before I do the speech. And if it's a happy speech, I find for me the emotional routine is shorter. But if it's a very deep speech like my semifinals, my emotional routine is longer. And the emotional routine is designed to do one thing. Say you had long day at work and you're very tired and now you need to deliver a very funny speech. Or vice versa. Say you had, you just came from a party, you're so happy, and now you need to deliver to your audience a very deep and meaningful and sad or transformative speech. Your mindset needs to be right. If you had a tough day and you need to deliver a happy speech, or the other way around, your mindset before you deliver that speech need to be on the same wavelength as the message that you're delivering. The emotional routine is a mental routine that I do to make sure that I am in the mental state that I need to be before I deliver the speech. If I need to be happy, my mental routine is designed to do one thing, bring me all this energy of happiness before I start speaking to the audience. So I don't look at the audience and say, I'm so happy, oh my God, let me tell you a happy story. Yeah, it's so fun. You can't do that, right? or you can say, let me tell you a really, really deep and meaningful story. It's not about the emotional routine needs to eliminate everything that happened throughout the day, put you in that mindset and emotional level to connect with the topic of your speech. Very important concept. Very important concept. To me.
Got you. It means that before any important speech or presentation, we need to set our mindset that what kinds of emotion or energy level that we can deliver to the audience, right?
And that answers the questions how you do 1,000 practices, yeah, and how come you don't look fake?
Yeah.
Because before you deliver the speech, you go through the emotional routine. So you're talking from your heart, not out of a script.
I see. Got you. Yeah, very useful point, Mr. Nitay. And let's come to the second point that we would like to discuss today. That is, how can we influence our listeners when we present online? Because I think that some of us here, we are working in corporate professional world, and we need to influence our listeners online, but sometimes we don't know how to do that. Can you please share with us some tips?
So we have two issues with the virtual world,
Yeah.
right? Issue number one is usually if we talk in an office or in front of an audience or to a colleague, right? We can get cues from them, non-verbal cues, communication cues. And remember, 80% of communication is actually not our voice.
Yeah, right.
Whether we lean forward, whether we go back, facial expression, etc., of the audience. And it's much harder to do it on the virtual world because you don't have those cues. For example, when you give a speech, like in the international speech contest, and you think you say something funny, you don't know whether people laugh because you don't have that feedback. So why am I mentioning the difficulty on the Zoom, or not Zoom, sorry, on the virtual world? Because you need to pay more attention to how your voice and how your facial expression and how your body language link together. Because I can say, I'm so happy, yes, I'm so happy. You won't believe me because look at my body language, right? So your body language need to match what you're saying. Otherwise, it's not going to work, especially in the virtual world. So that's a very, very important message. Now, one thing I'm not doing well today, and I'm happy to explain it, your background needs to be great. Mine is not. And the main reason, because here in Australia, it's nearly 11:30 at night, and usually where I do this type of interviews is next to my daughter's room, and she's 2 years old, wake up. So that's why we have this. But whilst this is not great, acknowledge why it's not great. Explain where you are if you need to, and be transparent. That's the key. Number three, it depends what type of presentation you're doing. Is it more appropriate to sit down, or is it more appropriate to stand? And if you stand, make sure your feet is as wide as your shoulders, in the same way that you do in the real world. So consider your surroundings.
Yeah.
I'm happy to elaborate more if you have more questions. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm following our listeners. In case that you have any questions, just help us to type the comment, everyone, and then I will help to pick the questions and I will send to Mr. Nitay. I think that just go ahead, Mr. Nitay.
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about the delivery of a speech via virtual, or the message via virtual world.
Mm.
I think the best way to look at it is, even though you may speak to 1,000 people or 100 people or one person, because we're talking on the virtual world, we need to communicate as if we're talking to one person, not 1,000. And right now my camera is right here, and it will be terrible if I go and speak to you and this is what I think, how are you today? The eye contact that we usually have with the audience doesn't exist, because usually we would have scanned the audience left and right, or whatever techniques you're using to bring the audience in. And in the virtual world, you only need to look at one place, and that's right here to the camera. And your language, the language needs to be toward one person, not 1,000.
I have a follow-up question here, Nitay, because if you present offline, we need to scan our eye contact to our audience for sure in order to maintain our connection. The point is that when you present online, where should we look at? I see that you just said that we look at the camera lens, but the point is we also need to observe our listeners' facial expression. So how much time should we divert our eyes to the camera lens, and when should we divert our eyes to the faces of our listeners here?
This is a great example. This is a very great question. I'll explain to you why. Usually, when I deliver speech on the medium, which is Zoom, which is not the medium today, but probably that's the most common one, or even whatever it is, right? I like to put it on gallery view. Yeah. On gallery view. For me. And the main reason for that is, if I think I said something funny, and let me tell you a secret, my wife thinks I'm not funny, but if I think I'm saying something funny, then I quickly look at the audience to see whether they laugh, whether they have a reaction. Because you need to give that time for either the joke or the message. If it's an important message, you need to give it some space. And I look at the audience to see when they're ready for me to continue. So I do say, and this is a very important message, or and this is funny. I will look quickly on the screen to see what the reactions are, and then I will look at the camera. That's the key. Now, if you do characters, this is perhaps not going to be relevant to the corporate world, but definitely for the international speech context, you can't do a character in yourself, the narrator looking into the camera. You have to look 45 degrees each way when you do a character, or thereabout. So they know it's not you now, this is the character, and then you look at the camera. My view is, most of the time, it needs to be at the camera, unless you're doing something like characters, unless you're looking at the gallery to see the responses of, that's my cue now to go to the next line, because you don't want to step on laughs. Or if you think, for example, you ask me an important question, I think it's quite valid, because in the real world you do that too, and you say, that's an interesting question. Here is my answer, right? So you can't always be like this. You're going to scare the audience. Tool, but most of the time you should be looking at the camera.
I see. So most of the time, especially when you are speaking, it's better to look at the camera lens. And sometimes whenever you finish your point already and you would like to look at your listeners' facial expression, you can divert our eyes back to them, right?
You get a feedback. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. This is actually a great point you made. If, say, you run a seminar, right, and you say, raise your hand, in the real world, we'll say, raise your hand if you think whatever, right? Obviously, you need to look at the gallery view to say who raised your hand. But the narrator, it says, oh, I see that a lot of you are raising your hand. So keep the audience engaged. Don't just go, okay, I think some of you don't like it, right? Or some of you raise your hand. While you look, say, oh, this is interesting. I can see here that, but I'm still keeping the communication flowing. Always because that's the only place to look at you, through the camera.
Got you. It means that it's just a quick glance at the audience.
Correct.
Got you. How about your facial expression and hand gesture at that time? Should we use our hand while we are speaking?
Okay, so in the virtual world, unlike the stage, unlike the stage, it's very important on stage, but unlike the stage, your communication, like even today, your communication today will be mostly through here. That's
Yeah.
it. This area on the screen, that's the most important area to communicate the audience.
Yeah.
Because the gestures lose a bit of impact on that virtual stage. But I can be really angry or I can be really happy, and that transports the communication. This area, the facial expressions,
Yeah.
absolutely important
Mm.
on the virtual stage. Absolutely important. Yeah. And that's why I say in the finals, I even over-exaggerated my face in terms of I would never do it on stage because one, no one would see it; it would be too far. But when I was happy, I was really happy, and when I was sad, I was really sad.
Yeah.
That's what pushed the message forward. Here, this is the most important thing.
I see. Do you think that you need to exaggerate your energy when you do online presentation, even it's more than offline presentation?
I go back to this: be you. Just be you. If you're awkward, be awkward. As long as it doesn't impact the message, right? You don't want to be fake. You can't be fake. You can't be fake. You can't be theater. You can't be fake. Sometimes, if it's a humor point, of course you need to exaggerate it because you're symbolizing a real life event, but you take it to a humoristic level. But it's not going to work if you take it too far, or if you have a very important point or quite a sad point. If you make it a drama movie, it's just not going to work. Just be the real you. Don't be afraid to show facial expressions. Yeah.
I see. Got you.
Yeah.
And I think that because of our time constraint, the last question that we have for you is: do you think that online presentation will be here to stay?
So, sorry, I couldn't hear the question. Would
Yeah.
presentation be here to stay?
Yeah. Would our online presentation be here to stay? Do you think that online presentation will be the trend of our world?
Oh, sorry. Of course it would be. Of course it. Let's just think about what happens in the contest and elsewhere too. All of a sudden, we're speaking not to 2,000 people in the room. We have the potential to speak to 60,000 people, which watched the contest last year. And when we do a presentation like this, right, we can have it over coffee with 6 more people, or we can have 1,000 people watching it. And in our modern world, everything is slowly moving toward internet, toward greater linkage. Think about Facebook. In the past, we used to have 6 friends we used to hang with and send them text messages with our photos of what we did to yesterday. Today we have 1,000 friends on Facebook. We may not know everyone, but it's still there. They all know what we're doing. The world is evolving.
Yeah.
Virtual presentations are evolving too. A year and a half ago, they didn't exist or exist in a very limited space.
Sure.
And today it's going to be the norm. I truly believe virtual presentation will be the way of the future. I really do. So we need to explore this medium, and we need to understand how the tools that we have either work or doesn't work or don't work rather on that space. So absolutely, it's here to stay. In one way or another, it's here to stay.
Yeah. So to those public speaking learners and presenters, even though that we understand that in Vietnam we prefer offline mode of learning and presenting, but the point is that the world is evolving. It's just like Mr. Nitay said. We also need to adapt how to present not only in offline mode but also in the online mode, because online presentation and offline presentation is really different. It's not the same. It means that just like Mr. Nitay, when you present offline well, but this doesn't mean that we know how to use our eye contact online, right? Yeah, so we
You're
need
absolutely
to
right.
learn.
And I'll make a comment on that. You need
Yeah,
to be
right.
aware. So in the past, I've never done virtual presentation. It was only on the stage. Yeah.
Mm.
When I started that last year, I realized very quickly a lot of the stuff I do on stage just doesn't work on this little screen. It just doesn't work, right? But I
Yeah.
also recognize it won't work, right? It works on stage, but not here because you don't have the audience engagement. You don't see it, right? And a lot of the stuff that I do on the virtual space, it's not going to work in the real stage. I know that. So what you need to do is this. What's my message? Number one. Which medium am I delivering the message on? Number two. Number three, what tools, what delivery tools can I use to enhance the message? Number three. And that depends. If I'm on stage, I'll use these tools. If I'm in the virtual world, I can cover the camera or whatever things I've done in the contest. So which platform am I using, whether that's virtual or non-virtual? What tools, delivery tools exist in that world, and utilize it to do one thing, deliver your message. But in today's world, you need to be aware of the tools, delivery tools, both virtually and face-to-face, which perhaps in the past, the virtual one, we didn't really pay attention to them as much as we do today.
Yeah, definitely. Like 2 years ago, when I studied online presentation classes, but then were not many people enrolled in the class. Nowadays, that is the must. So that's why there are more people enrolled in the online presentation. So for sure, that mastering online presentation is the must in the new world after a pandemic. And thank you so much, Mr. Nitay, for joining us today. Congratulations you on being the top second of the world champion of public speaking in 2021.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me, and I
Yeah,
hope you enjoyed it.
yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for those viewers, we're gonna see each other tomorrow with the topic 7 elements to enhance your voice. And we're gonna start our live stream at 7 p.m. tomorrow. See you on EIY page. Bye bye.